Hello and welcome back to another class at Fem University, the school where I teach my favorite topics and nothing else. Originally, this video was meant to be a get ready with me, but I believe a much more intimate format to be essential in the topics we're unpacking today. The queer elements of Guillermo del Toro's portrayal of Frankenstein. As someone who is a massive fan of the original work by Mary Shelley, I adored the movie. I feel very, very particular about ensuring that movies remain at least connected to the major plot points and communicated values, lesson, morals of the original film. Any changes, I believe, should be made to enhance the storytelling and perhaps increase its relatability to a modern era. So, for example, one change that I liked that they made was that Elizabeth was not Victor's sister, was not Victor's strange, semi-adopted sister whom, on his mother's deathbed, she requested for him to marry her as her only wish in life. That was definitely a piece that existed outside of this era of our understanding of marital relations and familial affairs. Instead, I appreciate that they portrayed Elizabeth as both the mother and the one who he was romantically pursuing, sort of creating a link between Victor's intrinsic trauma and his experience of trying to chase after feminine love, his desire to possess, to control, and to reanimate what has already disappeared from him. However, in this video, I intend to speak on the monster. I want to stay true to the original script that I produced while naturally doing my makeup. I become quite vulnerable in this, so I just want to say I appreciate you going on this journey with me. I think the most beautiful take on Frankenstein's monster is that while deftly moving away from the classic movie rendition of Frankenstein's monster as this otherworldly, almost alien green, heavily stapled retelling, they really stay true to the book's vision of this yellowish, sickly, watery-eyed, accursed fiend, while still being able to find the sliver of beauty and elegance. I think that was probably a very difficult line to toe, for the monster to look both human yet disassembled, and for us to both feel for him and recognize his descent into madness due to repeated isolation and rejection. I appreciate the bandaged look that they assigned to the creature. It served to illustrate the nature of seeking dignity, seeking personhood, friendship, allies, in a world determined to withhold them from you. Whenever the creature even stumbles upon a proper human piece of clothing, it ends up tattered, broken, and stained with blood. There is no layer of protection available to the creature, be it the soft fabric of a donated sweater or anything that could protect him from the sheer harshness of the elements he is left vulnerable to, and it is stripped from him. It's clear that the creature's experience in the harshest conditions of the elements mimic his inability to exist safely in this world he was forced into. I think, too, he exists as a fantastic metaphor for the violence that we enact on others, and the way that, once we benefit from said violence, no one wants to dwell on its repercussions. We all seek to look away. And so the creature literally an amalgamation of the severed limbs of those who died in war, is unbearable for any and all to look at, for any to sit next to. Only those who are willing to do nothing but listen and engage are able to become anywhere near friends, anywhere near kindness. People don't want to see the reflection of the world's flaws. I appreciate Frankenstein by Mary Shelley as an open reflection for us as the general public to examine who is human, who is a monster, and who gets to determine those facts. I think as a queer person, growing up and reading that in my Catholic school, this book in my Catholic school, maybe perhaps the reason why I resonated so deeply and felt so passionately on behalf of the monster, and committed all my essays henceforth to basically cursing Victor out in MLA format, are because I felt very seen in this depiction of an otherworldly innocence brought into this world with no control over his appearance, who's still in possession of the basic human need for companion, the basic human need for company, companionship, and love, who was constantly having that ripped away from him, time and time again, who was tortured for skills he could not attain, who continued trying despite complete rejection and isolation, whose entire life before snapping was dedicated to becoming something palatable, something that someone could love. I think growing up in a conservative environment, my mother attempted a form of conversion therapy on me. Basically, once I came out, I was told that it was the devil's control on my mind, that these demons within my head were falsely influencing me, and I was instructed to cut off all sources that could influence me from the outside world. Everything I did, everything I watched, listened to was very heavily monitored, and I was subjected to monthly check-ins to ensure that my attraction to women had faded. And I can't help but think of the scenes in the movie where the creature is subjected to trials to prove his competence, and Victor, due to the trauma of his own childhood and the attachment to his scientific prowess, almost tortures the creature for something that is natural, for behaving as a newborn child. The creature is repeatedly hit. He is left in chains, bound, hidden away. And again, I think that really says, I think that the physical imprisonment of the creature demonstrates our morose, obsessive desire to hide all that could be perceived as a slight on our part, a failure on our part, and to lock it away. When creation is self-focused, our attention runs from caring for the life we've brought into our world to proving to the world that we could make a perfect life. I think, similar to the monster, I felt this state of hopeless creation where I both could not be free to express myself, and where any attempt on my part to forge a connection was seen as grotesque and unnatural. I think, too, that feeling of traveling the world to find someone who could love you and having it ripped away, becoming portrayed as this demonic force attempting to rob parents of their children, is something a lot of queer women can relate to. Oftentimes when queer youth would go through their first relationships, the parents of their partners would blame them for quote-unquote turning their children. There becomes the situation of the wolf in the village, who is actually just a curly-haired child. I think it's interesting within the story of Frankenstein to explore this idea of the false sinner, the concocted monster, because it's a trope so often attributed to women. For example, the depiction of Lilith in folklore as this failed experimental creation of God who was meant to be Adam's first wife, his right hand and his support. Who was meant to be Adam's first wife. And due to her possession of willpower, of the ability to say no, of her non-consent, and overall her ability to disappoint. She was cast aside, rejected, and now all of her appearances in our stories are as a demonic entity. Specifically, when women are cast as hateful, it's because of our depicted inability to maintain a partnership, a family, and or have a child. 3 things that have become almost encoded into many cultures' idea of what existence should be. Defying that seems to many as a rejection of life and goodness itself, transforming you from an individual person with wants, desires, to an infiltrator and demon. In the original source material, the monster begs Victor to create a spouse for him. And this happens as well in the movie, but it's in an encounter in the bedroom where Victor just upfront refuses. However, in the books, Victor says yes, but once the creature has left, he, in his typical Victor fashion, gets to thinking and decides that the odds of them procreating would be too terrible. However, one thing that's always bothered me is the idea that he would need to include the biology for procreation. Victor is a scientist. He knows that a womb is necessary to create new life. So why rob the creature of a partner when it would be a partner of his own construction? In the book, Victor not only agrees, but creates the entirety of a woman and rips her apart. The dedication to the removal of happiness for those deemed as other, I think is an extremely relatable feature for queer couples, in that ultimately we want to be left alone. We want to experience the same types of joys as everyone else, but due to the way we were created against our will, we are ostracized. Then, in attempting to form any type of community with our fellow ostracized individuals, that too is forbidden. Despite the inability of procreation, there's still this rampant fear that, if not isolated and siloed in prisons of existence, the presence of multiple queer people itself will become a procreative force, infiltrating the minds of others and encouraging, ultimately, openness and acceptance, which is deemed society's downfall. This is explored in the book Pagan Threat by Lucas Miles. I encountered this book when I was walking through the lobby of my apartment. We leave items that are no longer needed on the front counter for individuals to take and leave, receive, like our own personal thrift shop. This book was, assumingly left behind by someone who was moving out of the dorm and wanted to share its knowledge, as within its last chapter is actually argued for, to loan out the book to other people so they too could read and be enlightened. I flipped to the first page and saw an endorsement / foreword from Charlie Kirk, who this video might reach a lot of people with different belief systems, but I personally find the perpetuation of hateful systems of thought that reinforce ideas that some people are intrinsically less intelligent, less deserving of life, less human. I simply can't get behind that. Additionally, I find absolutely nothing wrong with the existence of people who feel things. I will always protect and support transgender individuals, and I think it's very odd not to. Because, again, the existence of those who aren't like you intrinsically provides this possibility of a world with difference. And the fear is that simply by being queer people, trans people, and the creature will procreate their idea and infiltrate others' minds simply by existing. Pagan Threat by Lucas Miles accuses the entirety of left-leaning minorities who are non-Christians. So, including specifically Wiccans, anyone who is not an Abrahamic religion, who is a polytheist, who is part of the neo-spiritual movement, anyone whose beliefs do not include a monotheistic God. He accuses of being part of a underground cabal influencing American domestic politics in order to infiltrate the minds of American youths and co-opt them into a subversive society of liberal mindset, including the idea that trauma is real, the idea that different belief systems are okay, the honoring of women specifically and the fight for women's equality, and more. And additionally, towards the ending of this book, he asserts that in order to overcome this threat that is sure to destroy Christianity, and whom he claims the entire purpose of it is to destroy good American Christians, the only way to defeat it is to stomp it out, squash it, and then reassert Christianity as the dominant religion of the United States by teaching it to children, enforcing it in schools, eliminating all those who resist. And it's very odd because the nature of the book itself is an argument for religious freedom, the idea that Christianity is under attack. However, this perceived attack is the existence of an alternative. It creates this thought loop. My religion has the right to exist, and your religion's existence threatens that right. So, I need to stamp out your rights before you erase mine. Never mind the fact that you're not trying to. Even your existence as an alternative is a relic of an ultimately nefarious purpose and source. For me, as a child, in high school, reading this book for the first time, it helped me form an identification of the forms of prejudice and exclusion I was experiencing without even really noticing. I believed I deserved the way I was treated, but laid out before me in a more relatable, accessible, and clear character, I fought vehemently for the creature's rights. I'm telling you, every single essay I wrote was a think piece destroying Victor Frankenstein's character. I was not playing around. I was resonating so deeply and almost irrationally with this work of Gothic romantic literature from so long ago, because it was something that I was still feeling in that moment, this unnamed injustice that I felt this urgent, desperate need to acknowledge. And the more that I think about it, I realize that literature has always been a vehicle of queer thought in a homophobic, unaccepting world. Mary Shelley is a bastion of the queer and unusual, All of the men in her group discredited her and put her down, saying that she couldn't write a novel, that it was too dark for a woman, that she must be lying, that she's insane. But the truth is that she did write this work. She succeeded in having her legacy persevere, and she carried this vehicle in favor of the uncanny throughout centuries. I'm curious, in reflecting so heavily on this novel and all of the themes it presents to us to unpack, how much of her true character remains in our story. There's Mary Shelley, this fictional, gothic, created head in our literary history. She has sex on her mother's grave. She has this whole story spun about her, but who was she as a person? I spent time pondering to what extent we have infused the imagined, the mythological within this real person's story. And I came to the conclusion that the character that they gain over history can actually be quite useful in their portrayal of what they were ultimately trying to achieve. It is impossible to include all of the minutiae and complexity of a person's inner philosophy within any depiction removed from their own narration. But no matter how flawed or inaccurate a lot of the facts we might be clinging on to about her life could be, maybe it's still an accurate perception of her overall destiny, her journey as an author and as a woman. I think that studying Frankenstein's creatures' interaction with youthful characters, I don't want to talk about that. It's a difficult place to be when you realize that there's nothing you can do about your perception. As I get older, my body has started to change, and I've gone from being perceived as a young girl to being perceived as a woman. While both forms of those beings have been sexualized, the vehicle through which harassment is being thrown my way has changed, and it sent me into a bit of a spiral. I already struggle with change itself, but remembering the creature's tale helps me a lot in this moment, because it's not for a lack of him trying or any intrinsic cruelty of his nature that he's being isolated and condemned, and he has truly no control over his appearance. The entirety of the problem is other people's perception of him. So, Frankenstein's tale. So, now we're all presented with an option. Do we accept that we will always be isolated and attempt to continue appealing to our rejecting audience? Do you become what people expect of you, sort of venturing? Do you become what people expect of you? Do you turn it on your God, the one who created you? My relationship to the creature from Frankenstein is why my fight for Frankenstein's monster and my fight for myself are inextricable from each other, because at their core, they're both in a field for finding the humanity in the atypical and treating those around you with more of the kindness that they inherently, by nature of being alive, deserve. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley and this adaptation by Guillermo del Toro argues that transformation and remaking aren't necessary accommodations to the universe's demands, nor is witless obedience. It argues that perhaps in a safer and kinder world, or in a world that we create through virulent and continuous self-advocacy, we can receive the kindness that we deserve. That concludes our first class at Fem University. Thank you for watching.